For years, beer has marketed itself as this easygoing cousin in the alcohol family. It is the drink you sip at brunches, barbecues, and rooftop parties. But in India, the story is different. In a country where temperatures routinely cross 40 degrees Celsius, a chilled beer can be a more expensive route to getting drunk than a glass of hard liquor. Brewers say the reason has little to do with consumer preference and everything to do with how India taxes alcohol. According to them, India's taxation system continues to place the beverage at a structural disadvantage compared to hard liquor. Hello and welcome to The Print. I am Triya Gulati, and in this video we will not only explain the beer culture of India but also understand what exactly the craft beer market is, how it is growing, and what challenges brewers face when they set out on a journey to make sure Indians drink better beer. Beer culture in India began as a niche urban trend driven by novelty labels like Kingfisher and Budweiser. However, over the last decade, a few hop-headed men, many of them former lawyers, marketers, and finance professionals who abandoned high-paying careers to pursue brewing, have transformed beer from a predictable choice between strong and mild into one of India's most experimental drinks categories. Today, beer is no longer just the watered-down lager associated with college parties and cricket screenings. So let's start from the basics. What is a beer? Beer is a brewed and fermented alcoholic beverage made primarily from four essential ingredients: malted barley, hops, water, and yeast. Water typically makes up over 90% of the beverage, while the malt provides color, flavor, and the sugars needed for fermentation. Hops add bitterness and aroma while acting as a natural preservative, and yeast is the engine that converts sugar into alcohol and carbon dioxide. Beers are generally categorized into two main families based on the type of yeast and fermentation temperature used. First are ales. Fermented at warmer temperatures, which is 60 to 78 degree Fahrenheit, using top fermenting yeast. They are often described as fruity and full-bodied, including styles like IPAs, stouts, porters, and wheat beers. The second category is lagers, which are fermented at cooler temperatures ranging from 48 degree to 58 degree Fahrenheit using bottom fermenting yeast. They are known for being clean, crisp, and smooth, with examples such as pilsners and American lagers. Beyond these, there are mixed and specialty fermentations such as sour beers, wild ales, and barrel-aged beers. Now, for a very long time, people knew only two kinds of beers: canned and draft. But there's another category which has silently grown over the years, and that is craft beer. Craft beer is produced by independent small-scale breweries that emphasize quality ingredients, traditional brewing methods, and flavor diversity over high production volume. Bengaluru's iconic microbrewery, the Beer Club, played a major role in kickstarting India's craft beer culture in 2010, and it became one of the first to introduce a seasonal Alfonso mango beer. Then comes Delhi's Fort City Brewery, Ministry of Beers, Brutally Honest, Gurgaon's Effengut, to Pune's Great State Ale Works, Goa's Makadi, and Bengaluru's Minham Craft Brewery. Brewers across India have been silently working towards making beer not an alcohol option, but a beverage option. Unlike commercial macro beers, which often use cheaper adjuncts like corn or rice to reduce cost and create a mild uniform taste, craft beer typically uses 100% malted barley and a wider variety of hops to achieve complex flavor profiles. In India, craft beer is frequently associated with microbreweries that brew and serve the product fresh on site. For the consumers, craft beer is cooler, more flavor forward, and far more approachable. Talking about India's relationship with beer, it spans thousands of years, with ancient texts like the Vedas describing sura, a fermented beverage made from barley, rice, and local fruits. The modern beer era, though, began with the British in the late 1700s, who shipped pale ales and porters to India. The iconic India Pale Ale (IPA) was developed during this time. It was brewed with higher alcohol and hop content to survive the 6-month sea journey. After independence, the market was dominated by commercial lagers and pilsners. While craft beer has existed in pockets of cities like Pune and Mumbai for years, the last 7 years have seen an explosion of independent breweries and homegrown beer labels across metros. If craft beer had a poster child in early 2010s India, it was mango beer. It balanced the bitterness of traditional beer with the familiar sweet profile of India's favorite fruit, making it a hit among those who might find standard lagers too harsh. It was a raging success among women too, and soon got the tag of the cool girl beer. The appeal was immediate. For many young urban consumers, mango beer became an entry point into beer culture itself. Soon, some of India's earliest craft beer pioneers quickly recognized the appeal of local flavors. Even today, mango beer remains a staple in breweries across the country. But what it did was it opened the room for more creativity. From poha and pani puri to mushrooms, brewers today are experimenting with almost anything and everything. The print spoke to two such brewers in order to understand the growing popularity of craft beer. What is craft beer? Can you please simplify it for our audience?
Yeah. So there's a definition that's globally accepted, which says craft beer is anything that's brewed in a small scale and an independent setup. In India, that can mean a lot of things. In India, I think the more critical part to it is how you brew it in a more artistic format, because in India we have a lot of microbreweries which typically would fall in the definition of a global craft beer definition, but they're not working in a craft format. They're basically sticking to a certain specific style, certain specific geography, just catering to 3 4 different styles and just going their way about it. So I think in Indian context, craft is where you, uh, depending on your terroir, which geography you're from, you bring in a compromise between what's locally available, the local produce, what the community is about. So when you get all of that together and brew a beer with that vision in mind to cater to that audience, that's what craft means in Indian context. Yeah.
And Gautam, like Ashish mentioned about microbreweries, for the last 10, 12 years, there have been a lot of microbreweries, especially if I just talk about Gurgaon, right?
Yeah.
But when I talk about Fort City Brewing, it stands out. Like when I went around and spoke to people in Delhi NCR, for them, those microbreweries are different, and Fort City Brewing stands different. What is the difference?
So,
How
like,
is your microbrewery different from what has existed in
so,
Delhi NCR for so long?
so first and foremost, I think there's only craft brewery in Delhi NCR. The rest still try to stick on to traditionalism about how styles were about 500 years ago. I don't think their internet is working these days, so I think they're stuck somewhere there. With us, like, it's always a challenge for us, a challenge in a way. I mean, we like the challenge of doing things in a different way, so that we can put India on a global craft beer map, because the whole essence of like craft which is around Europe is shifted to Asia, and I think India has got that the last, and that it's in the last final. I mean, in the first good wave for India
Okay.
of craft beer. I think it's just starting off with a lot of people being highly experimental and trying different ingredients all the time. Recently, I was like, how about I make a beer with aloo? So we're just working on that, and I want to make a wheat beer with aloo and call it aloo paratha. So yeah, so it's about to get us where we belong, because when I started brewing initially, we had I would use the word actually like white brewers, but maybe that's wrong. So we had a lot of brewers who knew nothing abroad, but they were getting into the country because a colonial mindset never changed. And like a lot of things like what Fort City did, what Great State Ale Works, a lot of breweries in India are doing, we're breaking that mindset that we can also do this, we also belong everywhere. And
Right.
what's helped us the most is like the entire cocktail revolution around me, around the food revolution, around people like Gagan Anand doing extremely good things, Vikas Khanna. So that was always inspiring us. Why not this stage also can be explored in a way like that? So
Right.
that's what, like, for me, brewing means to show what can happen,
Right.
to break the boundaries of what a beer can be. Beer can be for everyone. So recently, that's the reason we did a savory style of beer which never existed. I always
Yeah.
thought about the idea of farzan or namkeen being so much like its importance, right? Namkeen means socialization, right? So then I was like, how about we put some soya sauce in a beer, which is not very Indian, but it's about us just trying to make two worlds meet together.
Right. If for a larger audience, even today, if I say beer, they have two iterations: can and draft.
Yeah.
And when I tell them, okay, but there's a third category which is craft beer, so they're like, okay, give us some example. And I think about the beers you have, for instance, an orange popsicle, or the recent one that you launched, the mushroom umami,
Yeah.
umami tsunami,
Yeah.
right? And it just throws them off, like, oh my god, why are you putting all of these things in a beer? Like, keep the beer Simple.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the global scenario. Like craft beer, how has craft beer existed globally and for how long has
See,
it existed?
the saddest point is they tell us to be like, just keeping it real and simple, but the same guys will go talk great about the cocktail industry. How about we also drink our whiskey and eat, right? We're not doing that. So it's about a comfort and a preference, and people like to keep changing and exploring new things.
And has craft beer existed globally?
Globally,
Yeah.
in a very big way. In the US, like, there were homebrewing laws which got cleared off in the 70s. And in India, obviously, we don't have anything legit around it even till date. Because see, our government is very, very happy, like, you like going around with laws which existed before. Because what our Vedas also talk about is something are arishtams, which are spirits. So spirits keep people drunk and hazy so that people can rule over them. So the British realized that, they continued the same thing on, and then our politicians also just realized that and kept laws in the same way all throughout. So yeah, that's a sad part, but that is reality because someone like the Surah, so the ruling classes only drank Surahs or anything fermented back
Fermented
in the day.
beverages. Yeah.
So I'm not saying, see, you do come to fort and feel like a king because of the beers we make, but that's not just the part. It's about there's a whole deep-rooted angle of politics and how they want to control a product, which makes like social drinking more acceptable compared to someone being drunk and looking bad in public.
Right.
So if they keep the taboo around, they can just keep minting money, right, over that. So they play on that. That leads on to like, every political campaign in India for every state elections, every national elections, how daru band kara denge, all stuff like this. So it's very deep rooted in the whole thing. Our Vedas talk about that, spirits were usually for the lower classes. Sadly, we had a class divide and we still are dealing with a lot of class divide. But yeah, that's reality. So our government doesn't want beer to grow. They just want to help other spirits all throughout. Because bigger margins, easier to make, all of that stuff.
I mean, Gautam, you're a former lawyer. If you're talking about government and laws, let's dive deeper
Oh, yeah.
there. What are the challenges of running a brewery?
The biggest challenge for us was to tell department to department that a law like this existed. So they couldn't believe it. Even with the paperwork, they didn't believe it.
I
They
think that was
thought,
specific to the time when we
yeah,
were starting.
yeah.
There were two separate governments that were controlling different departments.
Right.
And there was no clear communication between those departments. So some of the departments did not know that a microbrewery policy existed in Delhi, even though there were two microbreweries running.
Right.
Because there's
So
a
yeah,
difference
that
between NDMC and
MCD.
MCD. So
Right.
NDMC, any party in power in the center would be dealing with them like NDMC directly, and then MCD would be like state-wise elections. One was I won't tell the names of the parties.
Right.
I like you all.
Ashish, I remember
Yeah.
in our last conversation you mentioned something about the ABV content of a beer
Yeah.
and how, as compared to a liquor,
Yeah.
beer is more. The tax is more on selling beer. It's
No,
not
so
easy
the
to
thing
sell
is,
beer. Yeah.
globally in most of the mature markets, taxation is layered. So a liquid that is slightly lesser on alcohol content, it's
Yeah.
taxed lower.
Yeah.
So for example, a beer which is 5% will be taxed lower as compared to a whiskey which is 41%.
Yeah.
So it's actually taxing on how much alcohol is there in that liquid, not on the quantity of the liquid. In India, unfortunately, it's all uniform.
Right.
So whether it's a beer at 5% or a whiskey at 42%, it's all taxed the same. However, there's some recent movement happened, I think in Bangalore, in
Yeah,
Karnataka,
Karnataka, that's
they have
exactly
what
introduced
it
a policy
Yeah.
wherein they're taxing based on different segments,
Yeah.
It
based
took
on
them
the
70
alcohol
years,
content.
80, say 70 to 80
But
years.
even those brewers are hesitant to enter the Delhi market because of the policies.
Yeah, because of the policy for sure. And also, see, it's not just not the policy. Like, I think Delhi, like, the city itself, like, the major parts are concentrated around like different parts of the city,
Yeah.
in the south part and all. So overall, when you think of it, the rates of like, like the land rates are so extremely expensive compared to other places. So the same thing you'd like, a lot of people would argue in Bombay is expensive like that. But then Maharashtra has got a kegging policy where the ease of brewing and all is happening in an industrial area, and then the beers are packed and then sold to multiple restaurants and bars.
Right.
So in that way, when the visibility for brands are around also in multiple places, brands are also more happy about investing more money into markets like that, right?
Right.
Rather than a place where I'm restricted to sell beer in a certain place only.
Yeah.
So that's where, like, I want to do that where I look good everywhere, where people are drinking my beer everywhere. Sadly, we can't do that. And I think on a very national or global level also, we fail because of the way our policies are. we did win a lot of awards. I think we made the country proud last year with a few things.
Yeah.
We could be in a few more places if just our product was more approachable to people, or not just my product,
Accessible, more accessible.
Yeah, I mean not approachable, sorry, accessible. Sorry, wrong word.
Yeah, but that's a wonderful point that you made about being accessible. I mean, in the kind of summers we have in India,
Yeah.
all you want is a chilled beer, but because of the policies, because of the taxes, it just becomes heavy on the pocket, and not if it's not
I think-
affordable basically for a larger
I think
audience.
it's not just the policy. We talked about summers.
Yeah,
They're very harsh winters as well.
yeah,
So a brand that's running for 365 days a year in Bangalore or Pune would only be running 180 days or like
Right.
let's say 200 days.
Yeah.
The winters in Delhi are pretty harsh.
but they are not.
the
But they're
general-
not that long as if you compare it with the summer spring season.
Yeah, I mean, if you compare it to Bangalore and Pune, the weather is more balanced. In Delhi, it's more harsh on the summers also and the winters also. In the winters, a lot of brands would struggle to meet their basic costs and overheads. And
Like
all.
even to run the place, like
Yeah.
Yeah.
like we faced all these issues, like with we know the licensing is a little more clear, but things didn't go that way. Like we had issues when paying basic salaries to people and yeah, we didn't even take a salary for the first 3 years of almost 2.5 years of running the place, because we knew we had to do certain things because we're more passionate
Right.
rather than and a little more crazier at that point.
I mean, initially when we were starting, people were like very reluctant to drink beers in winters.
Right.
Now, because we have also figured out what kind of beers people would want to drink in winters, like probably a heavier ale or a slightly higher alcohol. beer.
Again, for me, this is the alcohol lobby. Like the way, like, it's promoted that, rum is a winter drink. Give me one example of any country in the world where like rum is drunk in the winters. And also, like, Germany being a cold place, Belgium being a cold place.
US.
And then our markets, because they had such strong control with, like, political alliances around making rum and certain things even at distillery levels, they messed it up for us completely today.
Right.
Yeah. So people...
How can we fix it? We have there are problems that are existing.
Yeah.
What?
See, there are certain like really good like bureaucrats who do listen to us and do things, but then see, end of it, everything comes back to politics, right?
Right.
So right now, a lot of changes which are supposed to happen are also not happening because of elections every time.
Right.
We're just hoping even that gets cleared off.
Right.
I
think
won't,
they're good-
I won't say more. I won't say
There are
more.
good precedences in different states within India as well, like Maharashtra, Karnataka,
Goa.
West Bengal, wherein microbrews are allowed to sell outside the premises, takeaways in growler stations, kegging is allowed. So, I mean, if Delhi has to become a global city, it has to look beyond, I mean, infrastructure, of course, has to
Yeah.
improve. But it has to look beyond that also, the kind of lifestyle
Yeah.
they can offer people who are traveling from US, Europe. I mean, Vietnam has better beers than India.
So, while working on the story, I was not a beer person. So, I definitely tried a lot of beers, canned beers at breweries. And naturally, when I'm at a brewery, of course, I ended up speaking to a lot of people who are very particular about beers. Now, when I ask them about craft beer, even they are unaware of what
Yeah,
is
a lot
this
of
category.
people confuse draft with
Draft
craft.
with
Yeah,
craft,
yeah.
exactly. So then I tell them, okay, like you add different flavors to your beer, and then it just puts them off. Like, oh, why do you want to do it? Like it's like fusion food. Majority, if you don't do fusion food right, majority, but there is a perception around fusion food, right? Like street vendors putting absolutely anything and everything to create a dish. So did
there's
you
a side
face
of
that
us, yeah,
challenge?
there's-
Same,
side of it
I
which
tell the
hates
cocktail
that.
thing, why only sideline us, right? Why are the cocktail guys allowed to do
No, but
everything?
some people get it
Same
very
thing,
wrong.
right?
Some people get it very wrong.
Yeah.
Like all the
they-
mango beers
yeah.
you
Yeah.
would have had in Delhi NCR.
Yeah.
So essentially what we believe is whatever we are putting into the beer, let's say it's mushroom, soy sauce, whatever we're putting into the beer, it has to be beer. It has to taste like beer. It has to be very balanced. The flavors have to come out.
Not juice, right?
But
Basically,
yeah, it cannot be a milkshake or a mango shake or a
Yeah.
juice. It
like
has
people
to
thought
be
I'm going to
beer.
feed them a bottle of soy sauce, right? When I told them I'm going to dump a... And then also the same version, the vegetarian version in India.
Yeah.
And then the non-veg version, in Vietnam, we actually put oysters into it. So right now, the government is missing on so many things because these things can be possible in India, but right now we guys are running across borders to do things like this.
It's very important to get the balance right. When I'm saying mushroom, I can't leave it to the imagination of the person.
Right.
Because mushroom to pick in a beer is a very, very different flavor.
Right.
But at the same time, I can't overpower the beer with the
The
umaminess
umaminess of our
mushrooms.
mushrooms, right? We're speaking about mushroom beer. I mean, your entire menu is quite hilarious. From an orange popsicle, you even have something called SpongeBob,
Yeah.
and the coffee one night stand. That's what you call it, right? Which
Yeah.
is basically
Yeah.
espresso martini fusion.
There is a poha beer also.
There's a poha beer as well.
What's it
Wow.
called?
Sorry.
What's it called? Understood.
I don't know.
So tell me one thing, that how do you come up with these weird pairings with beer, and what is the procedure? And please, I mean, our audience, and we are not brewers, so please simplify it for us. Like poha in a beer, how do you go about executing it?
So, like, I think everything starts with an idea. Oh, yeah. Everything with an idea, right? Like, and then so it's usually like for me, it's always been around food. I've been a very big foodie all throughout. And even like, before becoming a brewer, I wanted to be a chef all my life. And before being a lawyer, also, I wanted to be a chef all my life. So then I'm lucky that, like during service hours, I can actually sit and drink beer rather than, spend time in the kitchen. That I'm not a chef today. Thank you, all the chefs. And then yeah, like then I look at the science first. I mean, like the art of what I want to do, and then see the possibility through reading and doing a lot of research about the science itself. And then I have a base in the idea about how, I mean, in my mind about how it's supposed to taste, and then from there I take it along. And then you make the base recipe, and then you do a certain additions, start tasting how the beer is doing. So it's almost like you're nurturing it till the time it's completely matured.
Yeah.
And how long
So
on an average does it take?
every beer is like a baby like that.
So how long does it take you to perfect a beer?
So for a lager, like see, like we lager a beer. So earlier it used to take at least a few batches.
Okay.
When I started off like about 7-8 years ago, 10 years ago, when I was home brewing also
In Vietnam.
in Vietnam, and Vietnam, Noida, right? Yeah. And then I think I started getting the hang of things as things started growing, and then I moved to Pasture Street Brewing in Vietnam. I mean, I was working with them, and they were Asia's only World Cup gold-winning brewery at that point. And they taught me like the scaling up part from like homebrewing level to a major level. So I got a lot of exposure around that, including how beers are canned, packaged, and they used to allow me to do all crazy things on the small systems and play around. So I got a lot of support, but this was before Carlsberg bought them. Now the team is different; it's all Carlsberg team. And then from there we start getting to the final recipe. And nowadays it's much easier for us to do rather than
And how much quantity do you go for?
minimum of 600 liters.
Okay.
Yeah.
And let's say something like an orange popsicle or your one night stand, the coffee beer. In how many days do you sell it out?
You answer that.
About a month max.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, the
So
shortest.
there is a huge demand. There's a huge appetite.
There is.
Yeah, so the fastest we've sold a beer is SpongeBob, 600 liter batch. We sold it off in 5 days.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People are thirsty.
People are definitely, I mean,
Yeah.
Delhiites are definitely, Delhi NCR people are definitely very thirsty.
Yeah,
but
the biggest problem we have with SpongeBob is it's never on tap.
And
When
it takes a
comes
while
on
to
tap, it's out in 5
And I
days.
take a minimum of
It
like
takes 3 weeks to 2 to 3 weeks to brew it.
right.
So yeah, then you have to wait.
Considering like the figures that you are telling me, it clearly shows that there's a huge appetite for beers in India. I'm assuming Delhi NCR, of course, as per your figures,
Yeah.
but then I'm sure that it is also there's a huge appetite for beers in India as well.
Yeah.
So why are there no good microbreweries?
I mean,
Why does everybody have to go to Fort City for a
I
good
think
beer?
the biggest challenge for a microbrewery brand to grow out of a state is different laws in every state, different excise policy in every state, different duty structure in every state. That's why it's very difficult for a brand that's grown beyond a city to 3-4 cities within a state. As soon as it has to cross state boundaries, then it's like starting a new
No,
brand.
but
Yeah,
even
like
if we
beers-
talk about Delhi NCR,
Yeah.
wow, I mean, there are so many breweries, but
Yeah.
you don't get that kind of good quality beer there. So what is
So
it that they are not
see,
doing?
straight up, it's restaurateurs starting breweries compared to brewers
Yeah.
starting a restaurant with a brewery with a bit of food over there.
Yeah,
Okay.
so
So
like
that's
I
the
tell
whole
everyone,
difference.
rest of the microbreweries are a restaurant with a brewing setup.
Yeah,
We are a brewery with a restaurant,
right.
with a kitchen.
With a kitchen.
Yeah, so that's where I think essentially it's different because people are looking at looking at it as a restaurant business,
Mhm.
not focusing much on the beers. And when I discuss it with other people financially, I mean, commercially also, they're selling a mix of 30, 30, 40. So 30% is beer, 30% is other alcohol, and 40% is food. So
Right.
food is the major driver. For us, it's 60% beers, 20% food, and like 15, 20% other alcohol.
Right.
So when the entire chunk of the
So usually, like breweries abroad, like they're a brewery with a tap room. They usually don't have food also. They'll tell a different friend to do a pop up every day. I wish we could really do that, but
Right.
we could have things.
and that focus on the core is missing.
Hmm.
So when you begin craft beer brand, craft beers has, I mean, beer has to be at the center.
Right. So you said that, of course, the biggest challenge is to make your beer accessible to people. But in the end, yes, you are brewers first, but in the end, you also have to do business. So how did you go about the pricing of your beer so that it's not like if somebody wants to stop by every second, third day at your pub, they should not feel like that, it's burning a hole in their pockets.
So
Yeah.
first, I'd like Trump to stop the war, and that'll actually really help me out today. So that is one of the major factors today. And then also, right, we guys are extremely picky and choosy about our ingredients. I feel like the best food in the world, the best beer in the world, or anything, it all goes back to ingredient at that point. So we guys are very very so there's a certificate of analysis for every batch of every grain which is coming in, and we are always just going for the latest product. And the latest product is the most expensive thing for us to brew our beers also.
Yeah.
So yeah, coming back to that, we know if we're making good beers, people are coming to us. So with pricing, we always we have variation in prices because of the same thing. We have some beers which are cheaper, some beers which are more expensive, but it all goes back to what ingredient I'm using for a beer. Everything changes all the time.
Ashish?
I think there's definitely a cost factor
Yeah.
involved, which is, I mean, your raw material cost, your labor cost, your overheads.
Yeah.
Beyond that, what a lot of people don't realize is we have a very heavy experimentation cost also. Because to arrive at a new beer, to let's say arrive at SpongeBob, we had to make 5 batches of different NEPAs till we got to
So
SpongeBob.
roughly, I'm sure you won't be comfortable giving me exact figures, but give me approximate figures of how much goes in in the experimentation phase.
I think it would be close to 20% of the cost of beer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or maybe higher also.
Maybe higher also. For some beers, it goes higher also.
And what we realized, if we keep giving the same beer to people right now, on and on, if they like something. So now they will not come to my bar and try something new, my brewery and try something new.
Okay.
So, if someone likes something, I stop doing that. Okay, boss, you tried this. And then people like that, and they don't want to go back to the one before. So, it's always about it coming back to my question earlier. Like a good chef or a good brewer and all understands the market and the mindset of his customer or his friend or anyone.
Right.
So I think mothers are the best example for that because they know what the kids like, and it's a very close they exactly start understanding and start developing things on those bases, right?
Right.
That starts from home in that way is what I meant. So that's what we play. So a lot of times our beers are not as bitter as they are today, but the same guy who was drinking a sweeter beer earlier is drinking a more bitter beer today after a few months. But he doesn't know that.
Yeah.
But he's enjoying it. So his palate is under our control at that point. Right. So how do you control that palate is very important.
It's very important.
So we've moved a lot of people from a slightly less bitter version of NEPA slowly to the current version of NEPA, which
is supposed to be according to the style.
Okay.
Yeah, where we can balance the alcohol level and the bitterness and the sweetness at the right point. Another cost that plays a big factor in how we decide the price is and this goes across all beers, not just the ones which are very more experimentative. A lot of microbreweries in Delhi NCR don't focus as what's the right word for it? I was going to use a very wrong word, but as strictly on the sanitation and sterilization.
Okay.
For us, it's very critical. Like without that, I think whatever we're doing is pointless. We feel so. There was this person going around with a cleaning chemical. Who some company from Europe had come down. They had this chemical which they said would clean all the lines, and if you put it through your tap,
so the
system,
line is dirty, the color changes.
Yeah, its color will change.
And he was certainly sure that the color is going to change in my brewery because by then he's been through about
30-40
around the
in,
country.
Okay.
And then he tried it 4 5 times, and every tap there was no color change at all.
He
Because
was so shocked, like, what to
and that is
say
the
now.
first thing. I'm working so hard on a product and all. End of it, if the line is dirty, it's going to taste different. What's the
Yeah.
whole point of it, right?
Right.
So yeah, so you gotta serve it right also, right? It's about presentation. So that's kind of our presentation also, which is always happening behind the tap.
Right. For a very long time, I would say Mango beer was the brand ambassador of craft beer. People did not even know that this is
Yeah,
craft beer.
it's juiced
Yeah,
mostly.
right. And people, like, I mean, women in general, and even a lot of men would prefer mango beer, but like even they don't know that this is craft beer. So somehow it was like a brand ambassador of craft
Got
beer
it.
for a very long time.
Even
Now,
before that, there was another brand ambassador,
which
ciders.
ciders? Yes,
And
People
of
were making
course.
ciders and not beers.
like by law, you can't make ciders and meads in a brewery.
Okay,
Yeah, because that's a wine
Classifies
license,
as
and there's
wine.
no wine license like that. And most of the people starting these businesses are also mainly making money out of this stuff, not
right,
on actually what they can make money and go through.
right.
So also it's like an eye wash to the excise department that we're actually making beer, but it's not beer.
And
While
sorry to cut
yeah,
you off. You were
yeah, that I'm
saying
coming back
something.
to my point. So while you do have mango sticky rice beer on your menu, how do you make sure that, like, for example, you have sold out, and then people come and they're like, we want mango beer. Did you initially face that kind of those kind of questions where every customer is like, for craft beer, I
We
just need a
still do,
mango
we still
beer?
do,
You
we
still do
still do, we
that?
still do.
So how do you tackle it?
So those are our favorite customers because they follow up with us, and then we won't tell them a proper date, and they'll keep coming and drinking other beers. No, I'm just joking. So we usually let them know when it's gonna come on tap.
For that, you have to follow our
Yeah,
Instagram page.
Okay,
yeah,
so
yeah.
you do announce
Follow
it
us on
on.
Yeah.
Insta. Follow
Yeah.
us, yeah, on Insta and so on.
We've spoken at length about beer, but another interesting thing about Fort City is, which I think sort of makes it stand out from other breweries, is these kind of events that you guys
Yeah.
keep. Like, something is always happening at Fort City. What was the idea behind it? Because in general, breweries don't really do that. So what was the idea behind it, and how do you go about executing? Do you form a calendar, and are there any specific genre of events that you focus at breweries, or what?
We don't do
Yeah.
sushi
So,
nights.
so the idea came from so
Community.
before, yeah, exactly, community.
Yeah.
But coming to that, I think before I fell in love with beers, I fell in love with the culture that had been created around beers. So like the monks brewing beers,
World
beer
War
fest
Two.
happening. Uh, so much innovation had happened because of breweries investing into making better beers. So and a lot of uh, countries have their culture and lifestyle built completely around beers.
Right.
Just like food has influenced a lot of
Yeah.
cultures in different parts of the world, similarly in certain parts, beer has also had a lot of influence. So when we were starting a brand, we were very conscious about it, that we want beers to become part of people's lifestyle.
Okay.
It will never be an alcohol choice that they're making. It'll be a beverage choice that they're making.
Sorry.
So we want to take it somewhere like a tea or a coffee for people. And to achieve that, we try to create events around beers wherein we can incorporate it in their lifestyle. Like, for example, drink and run.
Yeah.
So the way current generation is thinking about the drinking habits or in general entertainment and social gatherings, it's slightly more around awareness and measuring what they're drinking, being more careful about the choices. So those are the factors that we take into designing what kind of events. And yeah, we have a very elaborate calendar.
Calendar
It's
about it, yeah.
already planned till December.
Yeah.
We keep adding and removing events around it. But yeah, the core thought is building a community wherein people can talk about beer as a part of their lifestyle, regular lifestyle, not coming to Fort City and just getting drunk on one night in a month.
I want to know from both of you, one remark each, that A, where do you think India stands today in terms of beer, and B, like where can we possibly reach in the next 10 years if we are going at the pace at which we are going?
Oh, the pace right now means, like, I won't see where India will go. But yeah, the pace is supposed to change, I guess. And
Do you
then-
think it's like the pace of a snail right now?
No, pace is quite fast.
Is
If
it?
you look at
No,
the
no,
craft,
not about the growth in that way.
growth of the market,
Okay.
it's
The growth
quite
in
fast.
that way of the market, yeah, it is impressive. But the growth always are associated with the laws around, right?
Right.
But then as soon as they see us grow a bit, they're gonna shut us down in some other way. So
Right.
that has been a trend which was more prevalent in the West before, but the West obviously understands that's not proper competitive businesses, right? So they let things with a little more ease, which has not come to India.
Okay.
So till that changes, then we could be at a snail's or a tortoise pace, then a little more faster.
Okay.
Yeah, not
And
right now.
but you did not answer that. Where does
Yeah.
it stand now?
Right now, there's a long way to go.
I think to answer that question, I'll just give you a bit of context. The per capita consumption of beer in India is close to 1-2 liters per annum.
Yeah.
If you compare that to some of more mature markets like Czech Republic or Germany,
It's around 200.
it's around 200.
Yeah.
So
there's a huge-
1 to 200. That's a huge.
do you-
Even if you compare it to
Do you
Vietnam
think-
and China.
Do you think this gap is also because of the taboo around drinking? But at the same time, you see alcohol industry booming.
Yeah, traditionally India has been a whiskey drinking nation.
Yeah.
That's
Spirit drinking
more rooted.
nation.
Spirit
and
drinking
nation.
nation.
I
Yeah.
would say whiskey.
Yeah.
Most of them are not even whiskey. So
Your objective and brewers like you in Bangalore, in Goa, your core objective is to make India a more beer drinking nation.
a beer superpower.
A beer superpower. Wow, that's a
I
brilliant
think
way to end.
our vision with Fourth City was also to create a style that represents India globally.
Okay.
Right now, the only style India is associated with is an India Pale Ale, which
Okay.
is not from India.
Yeah.
Which
The
is
British
from,
made it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's on that note, we'll end this conversation. Thank you so much for
Thank you for
being
having
with us.
us here.